everybody, it's Shaniqua from What Shaniqua's Into, and we are about to jump into some tarot cards from the True Heart Intuitive Tarot by Rachel True in order to see what messages and guidance Spirit has for us in the collective this week. This is actually my fourth attempt at recording this video. I'm going to chuck it up to Mercury retrograde and try not to get upset. But I wanted to let you all know before we even get into the cards that I'm going to be changing the format of my YouTube channel slash IGTV. Normally what I do is I record a collective reading just like this one, and after that I record 4 more videos for the zodiac signs according to their element groups. So the, water signs, fire signs, air signs, and earth signs. But what that ends up meaning is that I end up having to produce 10 videos in one day for these weekly posts because I post them to Instagram and to YouTube, and each platform has their own dimensions for uploading and thumbnails, and so I have to make 10 different thumbnails, 10 sets of tags and descriptions, and not to mention editing and producing and filming everything. So you might have noticed I haven't uploaded for the past month and a half because I just needed to figure out what am I going to do on this channel, on these platforms that I can sustain, that won't leave me feeling burned out and unable to even touch my cards, because I love tarot and I love reading for people. So my solution that I came to is that I'm going to resume the weekly collective readings that I like to do, and instead of recording separate zodiac sign readings, after I finish the collective reading within the same video, I will be going through all 12 signs of the zodiac, and I will pull 2 tarot cards for the energy and advice for that sign for the week. That way you all don't have to see a preview of a video on IGTV, then click over to YouTube, finish watching it there, then click for the video for your sign group. Instead, it'll all be in one video and you won't have as much work to do. I won't have as much work to do, but I'll still be able to service you all in basically the same way. You might even say a more thorough way, since I'll be going through all 12 signs individually, okay? So I know I just talked a lot. That was that was a lot, but basically, instead of looking for 5 videos a week from me, instead you will get one that will have the collective reading, and then you'll be able to find a mini reading for your sign at the end of that as well. Okay, so since I have interpreted these cards 3 times previously, this week's collective reading is probably going to go by pretty quick. The energy of the week is found in the 6 of Swords. Our challenge is found in the 10 of Wands. If I could pick it up, okay, in the 10 of Wands. The advice is found from the Prince or Knight of Swords. We are asked to know a lesson from the Death card. We're asked to remember a lesson from the Moon, and to consider an aspect of the 2 of Swords. The context for this reading is found in the 10 of Cups, and the deeper lesson that this reading is offering us is found in the High Priestess. Okay, so what does all of this come together to mean? Essentially, I've got 2 interpretations. One is more personal for the collective, and the other one is very political. I don't normally touch politics in my readings, but I couldn't help but sort of see a political narrative, considering that this week is the week of the presidential election, and it is an extremely important one. I don't think I can really put into words how important this election is. So to briefly go over that, because this isn't a political tarot page, but to briefly go over that, what I am seeing in these cards is that we are about to transition from one administration to another. And many of us in the last 4 years have been spurred into action with regard to social justice issues, or possibly even reinvigorated in our passion for social justice and equity in our society. And the prospect of having a different leader, a more normal status quo leader in the White House, is having some of us fearful that that transition is going to make the collective activism die down. It'll there's this fear that seeing Joe Biden take the White House will make people say, oh, okay, well, we don't need to go out into the streets and demonstrate anymore. We don't need to continuously call our senators and our congresswomen and men, and we don't need to do as much anymore because we're not fighting against such a blatant, overt monster that we were with Trump, right? And I feel like I should just take this moment to say, if you are a Trump supporter, don't fix your fingers to type no fucking bullshit in my comments about how I shouldn't insert the blank here. Don't do it, because I'm with the shits and I'll cuss you out. Don't do it. Don't do it. Back to happy Shaniqua. So yeah, like I feel like there's this fear of losing momentum or loss of energy behind a very important cause. But there's really no need to fear that, because again, the advice card that we got this week is Prince of Swords, and this is the ethical warrior of the tarot. This is the figure that is very sharp intellectually and will use their mental powers to fight for what they think is right, what they think is moral, right? And they're double air. This is a very rapid, active energy. This is an energy, a card that represents the energy of momentum, right? So there's this fear that, like, you know, the challenge of like putting down these responsibilities of activism and fighting for justice, but the advice is to ramp it up, not let it, you know, drop down to like pre-Trump levels. So there's really no need to fear for that. There's really no need to fear. The death card is what we're asked to know this week. Again, staying on the political vein or interpretation, tells me that we are about to see a predictable end and a transition and a rebirth. So that does not lead me to think that Trump is going to be reelected. And it's okay. Like I just really want to stress that if someone is watching this and they are fearful that removing Trump from office is going to undo some of the social progress that's been made, release yourself of that fear, because that's not what the cards are indicating, okay? Some people may want to convince you of that. We do have the moon in the remember position, and this is a card of mystery, illusion, distortion, things being cloaked or wrapped in shadow, right? Basically things being unclear. And with it being right up underneath of the 10 of Wands this week, which is again the card that is our challenge, there's a challenge to let go. There's a difficulty in remembering that part of the motivation of the actions that we've been taking socially for the last 4 years came from a very distorted, I keep thinking sick and unwell, a very dark energy, and moving into a position of, I shouldn't say position, transitioning to a more status quo administration is going to help lift some of that veil. And I think that many of us are just going to realize that the work has just begun. Not in a bad way, in a good way, saying like there's no need to fear that without a monster being in the top position of power in the US, that people will stop caring about their fellow Americans or fellow humans on this planet. You know, there's so much going on around the world right now that it can feel almost foolhardy to be consciously empathetic because of the emotional weight that that will put on you. But it's part of being human. It's part of being an evolving, developing soul. And there is nothing wrong with saying that you need a break to restore yourself before you continue. Okay. And that's really what I'm taking from the Two of Swords as the consideration this week. Spirit is saying, like, it is okay if you feel indecisive or if you need some distance before you can decide what direction you're going to continue on in. The Two of Swords is really a time to sort of pause and regain balance so that you can make a decision from a place of clarity, okay? So remember, the moon is the distorting energy this week, and it's making us feel like we are responsible for more than what we actually are, okay? So the cards are just saying, take some distance from whatever is making you think you have all of these wands on your back, because that is the distortion. And instead ask yourself, what do I want? What do I have the ability to maintain moving forward? All right. So that's like the political interpretation, but the personal interpretation that I'm getting from these cards is that there's a need for many of us in the collective to this is going to suck to say, but I really feel like on a personal level, the cards are saying that some of us need to end relationships. Like there's someone, or maybe a group of someones, like family members or a group of friends, or could be romantic. But I feel like a lot of us have reached a point where we are able to look at the human influences around us and see the toxicity that we have gotten used to. Coming back to the Six of Swords as the energy of the week, this is a card of mental and physical transition away from an unresolved, unhealthy, sometimes even abusive situation, i.e. the Five of Swords. It's choosing to stop trying to fix what can't be fixed and instead prioritizing yourself and your health and your well-being and moving away from what is not fostering that. So as the energy of the week, I feel like that's what a lot of us are going to be dealing with. And it's not something you didn't know already. With the Death card being here in the no position, no one who's watching me and hearing me say this is shocked by the notion that they may have to end a relationship or a job or something like that, something that has influence, right? This is something that you've probably been thinking about for a long time, something that you've felt wasn't in your best interest for a long time, or even if it's not a toxic thing, it could just be an issue of growing apart or becoming less and less in alignment with a person or a situation or a group. And you know that, like, death is a predictable thing. It's not a surprise most of the time. And that's what it represents in the tarot as well. So it can be jarring to understand that you have to leave structures or relationships that you have gotten used to. But if they are, in fact, that toxic, sort of unfixable energy, you know what you need to do, right? And what's going to be the challenge this week, coming back to the moon and the Ten of Wands, I feel like some influence from this situation that you know you need to walk away from is going to try and convince you that either your response, like if this is a relationship, right? Seeing these two cards together makes me think of like that person that, oh, if you leave, I'll hurt myself. Or, if you leave, how am I gonna like pay the rent? What am I gonna eat? I might be like out on the streets if you leave. It's that guilt tripping and assigning of responsibility that never really belonged to you in order to manipulate you and control you and convince you that you need to stay. Okay. But you have to give in to the illusion. You have to give in to the distortion. You have to pick up and carry those wands if in fact their manipulation is going to work. So it comes down to a choice, right? We have instincts and intuition for a reason, right? And that is another element of the moon card. So if your gut is telling you that this thing, this action, this responsibility that someone else is putting on you is manipulative, is toxic, is not fair, is a lie, listen to your gut, because it's picking up on the shadow and distortion around what's supposed to be a virtuous quality of being responsible. But instead, I feel like a lot of us are going to have that sort of used against us and twisted in order to control our actions. But you have to agree to do that. Okay. And then finally, like these last two cards, the Prince of Swords and the Two of Swords, I honestly see as Spirit sort of posing a question. What do you believe is right? What do you believe is honorable, ethical, moral, permissible? And how ready mentally and how willing and able are you to fight for and defend those things? Especially with regard to you as an individual. We all know the difference between right and wrong. We know it is wrong to steal, it is wrong to lie, it is wrong to kill, so on and so forth. But there are personal, individual rights and wrongs that are a lot more subjective that I think Spirit is asking us in the collective to consider this week. The advice is to fight for what you know to be right and true and honorable for you. And what we're asked to consider is what might be taking your peace, what might be sort of diverging or like splitting up your attention, your focus, and your energy in such a way that if you make a decision, it's going to be from a distorted, unsure, foggy place. If there are people trying to convince you that you need to stay in a relationship with them, you need to continue working with them, you need to continue to be their friend, you need to ask yourself, how is maintaining that, like doing what they're asking you to do, what they're trying to manipulate you into doing? You need to ask yourself, if I do that, what ethical truths, what moral truths about myself and my needs and my well-being am I sacrificing or ignoring or not fighting for by acquiescing to what this other entity wants? So if you need distance and time away from any influential force or person to get clarity before you make a decision about how to end a relationship or put more distance between you and some family members or start job hunting or whatever it is for you, you need to ask yourself where you can give yourself some peace, because that's Two of Swords. Two of Swords is peace or consciously being indecisive in order to not make a decision from a place of anxiety or pressure or feeling rushed or in despair. Okay. So what it comes down to is this week, big changes are happening, and there's a need to really be aware of what you are responsible for and what in your life is adding to or taking away from your sense of peace and justice. The context card is the Ten of Cups, which is the card of home and emotional and intuitive wisdom gained through experience that has been integrated enough, because this is a 10, this is the completion of a cycle. Those lessons and wisdom have been integrated enough that you can then share them with other people, with your loved ones, with the outside world. So it's your emotional wellness with regard to your home and your ability to radiate that. That's the theme that everything else is connecting to this week. And the deeper lesson that we're being offered is here in the High Priestess. And I really feel like the High Priestess is connecting to this Two of Swords and this Moon card, okay? Remember, Two of Swords is that peace in choosing to delay a decision or be indecisive in order to come back with clarity. And the Moon is intuition and distortion and illusion and mystery, right? And the High Priestess is the card of knowing, both like world knowledge and spiritual knowledge, like book learning and intuitive knowing. And the High Priestess is not representative of like a teacher or any entity that can hand you the answers or summarize lessons for you. The High Priestess is a representation of inner knowing. It's almost a card of like, I know that, but I'm not sure how I know, but I know it, you know? I just said no a lot. But yeah, and it's also kind of coming back to the Death card. This is another water card. The Death is ruled by Scorpio, which is actually the sign of death and rebirth and sex and everything. So, yeah, I just feel like collectively and individually, you know what's coming to an end in your life, or what you are preventing from ending out of fear of change. And this week is the week to work on that, to ask yourself, am I willing to sacrifice my well-being because I'm afraid of what comes next, because I don't have all the answers? Am I willing to maintain a toxic, imbalanced power dynamic because it's what I know and what I'm used to? Am I willing to stay in shadow and darkness and forego clarity because I don't trust my inner voice? Okay, so if you're going to integrate intuitive and like spiritual and emotional lessons and turn them into wisdom in order to be able to embody and share them, you have to trust your inner voice. You have to recognize that you are your own High Priestess, regardless of what gender identity you possess. It doesn't matter. You are a wise one. You are a knowing one. And nobody on this planet should have to endure toxicity or mistreatment or like oppression for the sake of the status quo. No one. So if that is you, if you recognize yourself in these descriptions, take this week to ask yourself these hard questions, journal about them, meditate on them, talk to a trusted friend or advisor. But once you do that, take steps to actually remove that negative influence or force in your life, because that's when you're really going to see that transformation through death and rebirth, okay? Remember, you are not responsible for other people's feelings or their well-being if they are not being responsible themselves. And remember that you deserve to have some mental peace and rest and restoration before you make any big decision too, just like anybody else. So really just don't let anybody pressure you this week into anything, whether that be like how you cast your ballot, whether you cast a ballot, a romantic connection, a long-standing friendship. It doesn't matter what the thing is. What I really want you all to focus on this week is being true to your inner voice in order to embody a level of wisdom that you would be proud to share, like with your children or with the next generation. Okay? So that's what I have for the main collective reading. I'm going to go ahead and reshuffle my deck. I am really, really liking the True Heart Tarot by Rachel True. I saw some people had like really bad reviews for it on Amazon because the card stock is a bit thin and this deck is a bit more expensive than some other mass-produced decks. It's about $30, and for that amount, I know people typically expect really good card stock. I don't think the card stock is bad. Like, I don't think it's terrible, but if you had the Light Seers Tarot that was produced by Hay House, with the really flimsy cardstock and the curled edges, this deck kind of reminds me of that, but without the cardstock being as thick. So if you're someone who picks or pulls your cards by letting them kind of fall out while you're shuffling, this may not be the best deck for you, or you may need to like laminate your cards or something. I don't know. But I can work with it fine. I think that it'll last so long as you're not like super, super rough with it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do a few riffle shuffles, and then I'm going to cut the deck, and we will pull cards for each of the zodiac signs, starting, of course, with Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. Nothing else would be right, would it? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck, and then I will start going through each sign. Y'all ready? All right, Aries, let's see. Energy and advice for Aries this week. The energy is found in the Three of Cups, and advice is the Ten of Wands. So Aries, you guys are really adventurous and energetic, and like y'all like to get the party started, right? My baby sister is an Aries sun, so, and my daughter is an Aries moon, so I'm sort of familiar with Aries energy. And you guys really like companionship. You like to spend time in the presence of people that you love, and you know, high vibes, good times, good food, good wine. That's what you guys are about, right? But the advice that the deck is giving you is actually from the challenge in our collective reading of the Ten of Wands, right? And remember, this is the card of carrying too much. So I feel like for Aries this week, these cards are saying there may be a lot of opportunities for togetherness, companionship, friendship, celebration, but be a little bit discerning and ask yourself if you need to answer positively to every opportunity and every invitation that's extended to you, because you probably don't. It'll probably be too much going on, and let's not forget we are still in the midst of a global pandemic. So I'm not saying turn into a hermit until the government says you can go back outside, but I am saying to be cautious and discerning, and to be sort of choosy about who you are choosing to get into this celebratory mode with, just for the sake of your overall well-being and health. Okay. All right, Aries, Taurus. Let's see. Taurus. Why Taurus always got this stuff going on? Okay, so the energy for Taurus this week is found in the Devil, and which is Capricorn energy, and the advice is found in the Six of Wands. So I don't think I posted this reading, but a couple weeks ago I recorded some YouTube videos, and I ended up having like corruption with the audio, so I couldn't post them. But I remember in the Earth sign reading, Taurus got the Devil and, oh gosh, I can't remember what the other card was, but I remember the interpretation was essentially like, go get you some. Which probably is not that surprising to many Taurians. You all are ruled by Venus, which is the planet of love and pleasure and beautiful things. And Taurus energy can be very affectionate and sweet, but also very sexual, right? And so the devil's sort of a tricky card, right? Because the Devil can represent toxic, imbalanced power dynamics, kind of like what we were talking about in our collective reading. Or it can represent hedonism, like giving in to like carnal, physical, pleasurable desires. And whenever this card comes up, it's a question of like, which side of the spectrum are you falling on? Are you giving into pleasure thoughtlessly? Or are you in balance and you understand that like all work and no play will make you dull? So this could very well be like repressed sexual energy. If you need to have sex, then do that so long as all parties are consenting. This could be the energy of needing to sort of rein yourself in a little bit, and practice self-discipline and restriction. But I don't get that with these cards, mainly because your advice is in the Six of Wands, and the Six of Wands is all about like being seen, like putting yourself out there, being celebrated, accomplishment, victory, right? So seeing this like sort of like a public figure almost, but it's definitely a card of like accomplishment, celebration, and victory, right? So seeing that as the advice under an energy of like base desires, sexuality, power, control, I just feel like you all are advised to like really embrace that energy and move into it and embody it and like let it let it be a good thing for you. Okay, Taurus. So connect to what your body wants this week. For some of you, it may be exercise. For some of you, it may be sex. It may be just really, really good food. But overall, I want you to consider what desires you may have been restricting or overall just cutting out of your experience, and ask yourself what it might make you feel like if you reintroduce or slowly increase those in your life, whatever it may be for you. All right, Taurus. Okay, Gemini. I'm a Gemini sun, so I love you guys. All right, Gemini. Our energy this week, Princess of Discs or Page of Pentacles. And our advice, oh, it's the sun. Okay. Gemini, Gemini, Gemini. My lovely, lovely gems. Okay. This week, there's a need to get grounded and to be practical, to ask yourself about the utility of things, the function of things, the usefulness of things. This is a time to be pragmatic, okay? It is a time to be curious and open-minded because all of the pages or princesses in my mind are students, and they're chosen area of study is the suit that they're in. So Princess of Discs, Page of Pentacles is someone who is really looking for usefulness, utility in the real lived physical world. And the advice for finding that for us gems is in joy, in almost like ecstasy, because the sun for me is a card of vibrancy, light, clarity, and almost manic happiness. I feel like I say that almost every time I pull the sun card, but that really is my understanding of it. And so as a piece of advice for anyone looking to, this is the Princess of Discs, Page of Pentacles is really about finding your purpose or moving into alignment with it, on more than a physical level, almost on like a soul level. Because if your soul's not into it, the utility or function of something is never going to matter to you as much as it could. So Gemini, ask yourself this week, and I know there's probably going to be a lot. There's probably going to be a lot of different answers that you can come up with because that is the nature of Gemini. But I really want you to ask yourself, what makes you exuberant? What makes you radiant? What makes you just spill light and joy? And how can you turn that into, how can you, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not grasp, but how can you really use the utility of that thing. I know I sounded really not Gemini just there, but basically this week, Gemini, ask yourself what makes you happy and how you can integrate that into your purpose, into your income, into your day-to-day activities, for the benefit of yourself and others. It has to be something that lights you up, excites you, makes you happy, okay? I want more than just the typical intellectual stimulation for you guys this week, okay? All right, Gems. Cancer. So you guys got the Eight of Discs and the Prince of Wands. This is kind of similar to what Gemini just got. Eight of Coins, Eight of Pentacles, Eight of Discs is about pleasing work. Work that is fulfilling. Iterative or repetitive tasks that bring you joy for the doing of them rather than the intended outcome. And Prince of Wands, Knight of Wands represents very fast moving, vital energy. Very passionate, very willful, sometimes very sexual as well. And as an advice card, this is, yeah, it's very similar to what I was saying for Gemini. This is asking you to, I feel like for Cancer, this is asking you to learn from someone that you work with or that you regularly interact with because of your work. And let that person be an example of finding vitality through shared experiences. Because Prince of Wands, Knight of Wands energy is very like, it's ruled by Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is very like explorative, adventurous is the word I'm going to go with instead. Sagittarius is a very philosophical, adventurous fire sign. And so this is about travel, movement, progression, but from a place of, again, energy and vitality. So I feel like for Cancer this week, there's a need to sort of bring excitement into your day-to-day, into your work routine. And there's someone in your life that can serve as an example of this energy and help you see how to integrate that like open-mindedness and readiness to share experiences with people into your own life and specifically into your work. Cancers are very responsible people, and they're very money-minded, kind of like Taurus. But Taurus people will spend their money in order to create environments that are reflective of the beauty that they like. Cancer people will just stack those coins and like live on the bare minimum, but be having like all the bank in their bank account. So I feel like there is a need to sort of bring more vibrancy into your work so that the repetitive nature doesn't become monotonous. Okay, that's what I've got for Cancer. All right, Leo. My mommy's a Leo, my sister's a Leo, my niece is a Leo. I love Leos. Energy for Leo this week. Okay, repeater from our collective reading. The energy for Leo this week is found in the Six of Swords. So there's a transition that needs to happen this week. And your advice, oh, I love you guys. I'm so sorry. Your advice this week is found in the Eight of Swords, okay? So Six of Swords is mental transition and or physical away from an unresolved, toxic, possibly abusive situation, right? Eight of Swords is about feeling trapped. The Eight of Swords I like to say that the Eight of Swords represents external boundaries that we have internally agreed to. It's kind of like limits or blockages that other people have convinced us are real when they're not. And so Leo, you all are ruled by the sun. You all have that very giving heart and very like strong pride, and you're very creative. And so I'm like so sad to see that this is something that my Leo loves are going through. But this week I want you to ask yourself, what mental faculties, what ways of analyzing your life need to be left behind, because that's what this Six of Swords is telling me. Some of the Leos looking at this are using outdated ways of assessing the health or goodness or well-being of their lives, of themselves, and it is because they have been convinced either by past experiences or maybe well-meaning words from other people, could be manipulative words from other people, but there's something has convinced you that you are restricted and that your options are limited in regard to some area of your life, and that's simply not the case. It only stays the case if you believe it to be true. So Leo, this week ask yourself what mental frameworks are keeping you convinced that you can't fill in the blank, and start doing the work to remove those frameworks. I am so sorry about that, you guys. My battery died, but we're still going, okay? So we left off on Virgo, and the energy for you guys this week is found in the Four of Discs, and the advice is found in the Fool. So this tells me, because Virgo is the sign of I analyze. They're actually ruled by the same planet as Gemini. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So you all are really good thinkers and communicators. And what Virgos like to do is sort of, if you were to, like, let's use a watch or a clock as an example, a Gemini is going to want to just like understand the watch in general. A Virgo is going to want to take it apart and see all of the cogs and the gears and figure out how it functions and see if that can be improved, right? Virgos are very detail oriented. And so the Four of Discs to me represents fear of expansion. It's like, my home is good, my finances are good, like I've got decent food, I'm getting decent exercise, like whatever seems decent or good enough or okay of a life to live. That's kind of what Four of Pentacles represents. It's like there's nothing super spectacular or extravagant, but I'm good. Like I'm good. I have no complaints. There's no room to complain here. And so because there's no room to complain, there's like this hesitance and fear of shaking things up with an eye on like bringing in more abundance, right? And as a Virgo, I'm pretty sure like you've probably had an idea, like a creative project or something that you've wanted to look into or get involved with, but you've been hesitating about taking that leap. And your advice here with the Fool is to go ahead and jump off that cliff and do it. You don't need to have all of the answers before you start. You don't need to be able to predict with 100% accuracy every possible permutation of how something can unfold. You just need to be willing to experience and go. Okay, Virgo? So this week, work on removing the fear blocks that you have on this project or thing that you've been thinking about, and plan out the initial step and then take it. Okay? Libra. Okay, Libra. Your energy is found in the Hierophant, and your advice is the Two of Swords. So this is sort of coming back to that collective reading. Libra is the sign of partnerships and relationships and balance. You guys are a fellow air sign like Geminis, and you are really good at like maintaining the scales. Like you're good at sort of keeping a ledger in your head of like actions, good and bad, on both sides of an equation, right? And that can, not always, but sometimes that outlook can lead to soft boundaries. Like, it's not to say you don't have any, like they're not there, but they may be a little bit lax, or they're not as fortified as they should be, because there's this really like sweet desire to kind of keep everybody happy and in a good space for the sake of the relationship and the partnership. But the Hierophant can often represent like controlling ideas, especially antiquated ideas. It's associated with like organized religion and government. And the Two of Swords, we talked about it in the collective reading. It's a card that I like to see as like intentional indecision, taking a step back from the two choices being presented, either because they seem equally good or equally bad, in order to get yourself grounded and get the clarity and mental strength that you need to pick one. So Libra, this week, there may be some religious conflict or religious obligations that are coming up for you, and this week you need to kind of take a step back from them. There may be a real strong sense that not participating in the thing is going to sort of rock the boat and make people unhappy. But for your well-being as an individual, this isn't something that Spirit is guiding you to participate in right now. I think you just need a break or some distance, and then maybe you can go back to it later. But this week, don't make any big decisions, just especially from a place of like religious or social obligation. Okay, you'll be able to maintain the balance without giving in to what other people are trying to direct you to do. All right, Scorpio, my rising sign. All right, Scorpio, what did you guys get? Your energy this week: Two of Wands and advice, Judgment. Okay, so these both carry the energy of two, because Judgment is card number 20, and so that's a 2 and a 0. 2 plus 0 equals 2. So energy being Two of Wands, advice being Judgment. Scorpios, this week there's a need to make a choice, unlike with what Libra was going through with the Two of Swords, which is saying now is not the time to choose. Scorpios, now is the time for you guys to choose, because the Two of Wands indicates like choosing between the old and the new, to stay where you are or to expand, to actually put plans into action or to stagnate, right? So Scorpio, this is a week that I think that you would benefit from planning and organizing for the long term, for your future. And then with Judgment being as your advice card, there's the Judgment always for me represents self-forgiveness and personal review. So, and Scorpios being the sign of intense experiences, sex, death, transformation, rebirth, like Scorpios die over and over again in their lifetimes. Not physically, but they go through such turmoil, such because their ruling planet is Pluto, and like we're not gonna get into it, but Scorpios can, not always, but they can have a tendency to sort of like beat themselves up and resent their own past choices, and keep all of that beneath the surface where no one knows that they're suffering with it. And so as it relates to the Two of Wands and planning and decisions and setting things into motion for your future, I feel like that tendency to go through really extreme things and then beat yourself up for how you responded to them is actually keeping you from like opening that next chapter in your life. And this week, I want you to lighten up and forgive yourself. That's really what I'm taking away. Stop thinking so seriously about past mistakes that you've made. They are, in fact, in the past. You may still be integrating lessons from them or dealing with like the fallout or consequences of some of your past decisions, but you are a full person worthy of happiness and expansion and self-love. So use the advice of judgment to forgive yourself. And with that renewed self-loving, self-forgiving energy, start organizing and planning for the things that you have been too down on yourself to believe you deserve. Okay? Sagittarius. Oh. Oh, Sagittarius. All right, so your energy is found in the Ace of Cups, and your advice is King of Swords. So Sagittarius has this reputation in astrology for being sort of a player. Like, oh yeah, when he's not with the woman he loves, he loves the woman he's with type of energy. There may be some truth to that. Okay, so Ace of Cups is a renewal or a brand new burst of emotional connection and intuitive strength. Like it's strengthened intuition. That's what I was trying to say. And as a fire sign, Sagittarians are good with their intuition, but they're very... It's the opposite sign to Gemini in the Zodiac. So Sagittarius and Gemini share a lot of traits. And one of the defining traits of Gemini is that we tend to be restless. Like we've got a lot of energy and a lot of ideas and a lot of interest. And so we're just all over the place, right? And Sagittarius is more philosophical and like bird's eye view with it. So in matters of love and intuition, they can be sort of Knight of Wandsy. They can be sort of here today, gone tomorrow. I had a great time with you. It was an awesome experience, but now I'm on to the next type of thing. And I feel like this week there may be something that comes up for many Sagittarians that feels like a new love opportunity. But with King of Swords being in the position of advice, Spirit is asking you to be discerning and rational when you evaluate that opportunity, because it may be fleeting, as many aces are. Excuse me. On the flip side, moving away from like a love opportunity, if your intuition is like sort of turning up the volume and really speaking to you this week and getting like almost like there's too much to filter through to hear, the advice of the King of Swords is to sort of cut away the bullshit and think about the ethical implications. The King and Queen of Swords are both very concerned with like justice and morality and what is right. And because Sagittarius is such a philosophical sign, your intuition may give you a lot of things to consider in that realm of right versus wrong, good versus bad. And so King of Swords is just saying like, what would be the best for the most people? And let that be what inspires you and guides you, and let that be what you communicate as you sort of evaluate all that stuff this week. Okay. All right, Capricorn, which is my moon sign. Energy is Queen of Cups. Advice is the Empress. All right. So Capricorn is not typically seen as an emotional sign. They're an earth sign. The moon is in its detriment when it's in Capricorn. So they're not really emotionally expressive until someone has really demonstrated that they are trustworthy and loyal and that they have similar aspirations or goals to the Capricorn themselves. Until that's been demonstrated, they are not going to open up to you. They're just not. They're more focused on their responsibilities and what they have to do. They're not thinking about being mushy. But the energy this week in Queen of Cups tells me that for many, many Capricorns out there, there is a need to really sit with your feelings. It might not necessarily be an indication to talk about them. But I feel because Capricorns are really good at compartmentalizing. Like you all are the sea goat, the mountain goat. You're thinking about climbing and achieving and stability 24/7. Okay. That's what y'all are concerned with. But that sea element shows that you are actually a sensitive sign. And if things are not going your way or you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, that's when you can sort of say, okay, these feelings are not helping me right now. I'm going to put them in this little box over here and I will deal with that box when I have the time for it. But Queen of Cups, double water energy, leadership energy, you need to sit with your feelings. You need to take them out of that box, unpack them slowly, one by one, and deal with them. You need to process them. And there may be an opportunity to do so with regard to your physical environment because your advice is the Empress. And she, to me, represents all things nurturing and abundant. So if you're a parent, there may be an opportunity to make a stronger emotional connection with your child or vice versa with one of your parents. But Empress really makes me think of what in your physical surroundings can help you grow. So Capricorn, this week, I want you to ask yourself what in your physical environment is stopping you from processing and dealing with your emotions in a healthy way. Because compartmentalizing them is not dealing with them. So really connect to your emotional body. Like take a bath. Like really sit and soak in the water. Or do like a water ritual, like a foot cleansing ritual, or you could bless your space with water. But I feel like there's, for my Capricorns, there's something tangible that is stunting your emotional development. And this week is an opportunity for you to remove that or fix it or tweak it, do something to change it in order to make your environment one that supports you rather than stunts you, okay? Because if you look at the Empress's staff, she's like, oh, it's all blurry. You can't even see her. But she's like radiating energy from her staff. And that is nurturing, loving, supportive, growing energy. And that's what you all need this week. Aquarius. Ooh, this is so awkward right here. All right, guys. Aquarius, your energy of the week, Ace of Swords. Your advice of the week, Nine of Swords. Now, Ace of Swords is mental strength and clarity and sharpness, like the ability to be discerning and to use your wit, right? And the Nine of Swords is anxiety and stress that we cause ourselves from the repetitive cyclical thoughts that we think. And Aquarius, that's Y'all are my fellow air sign. You all are very good at detaching, and you all are very humanitarian too, kind of like Libra. Like, you're very concerned with the growth of humanity as a whole, and you can sort of let that weigh on you way more than is actually healthy. So this week I want you to make a list of the things that are stressing you and really making you anxious and like worried and afraid for the future, things that might be affecting your mental or even your physical health if they're keeping you up at night. And I want you to use your mental powers to cut that shit out, okay? Do not let yourself dwell on things that are making you sick or depleting your health, okay? Because if your mind is not healthy, it's not going to be too long after that that your body is going to do the same. If your mind is unhealthy, your body will be unhealthy in the future as well. So, Aquarius, you all can be very loving, caring, generous people, but sometimes to the point of self-harm. So I want you to, again, just cut that shit out. Ask yourself where that's manifesting in your life, and you all have very sharp, very strong minds. You have the ability to cut it out, or to make the necessary changes to keep yourself healthy. So do that. Last sign, Pisces. Oh, okay. The energy for Pisces this week is death. And your advice is 9 of Wands. So we talked about death at length in the collective reading. This is a predictable ending or transition that frees up energy for a rebirth or a renewal or a new beginning, okay? And 9 of Wands is a card of perseverance. Normally when 9 of Wands comes up, you've been giving your energy or your focus or your attention or your fighting spirit to something for an extended amount of time, and now you're like on your last reserves, you're drained, your focus is depleted. It just feels like you're ready for it to be done, but it's not quite over yet. So for my Pisces this week, I feel like it's so interesting because so many of these individual zodiac readings have come right back to our collective reading. But Pisces, you guys are one of my favorite signs, mainly because you're hard to figure out. Like, Pisces people have such emotional depth, and so they're so psychic. Like, they can basically read your mind. Like, oh my gosh, Pisces is really cool. But there's a tendency for Piscean people to really deal with a lot of emotional turmoil and sort of put their emotional state on the back burner in order to take care of other people. And that is what I really feel like is draining you guys in this 9 of Wands energy. Pisces are really, really good caretakers, but they're not that great at taking care of themselves. So what I feel like this transition is talking about is there probably is some influence in your life or person or job or some situation that needs to come to an end because you've just been giving too much of yourself. I just get the sense that you're tired. I get the sense that like you appear upright to most people, but every day you're just hunched more and more and more internally because you're just putting out so much energy into this situation that is going to end on its own anyway. So this week, for my Pisces folks, I really want you to stop giving a fuck. I know how that sounds, but I feel like you're giving too many fucks about a situation that you can't save. And all it's doing is just taking your drive and your willpower and your energy and just making it lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. And so stop giving a fuck. Give no fucks. Take all the fucks back and throw them away. Okay? So that's what I have for my awesome Pisces folks today. I really hope you guys like the new format of the videos. I'm hoping that this won't be too long. I mean, I feel like I recorded for like 40 minutes. Oh my god. But I can't do the 10 video thing anymore. I just cannot. So I sincerely hope that these readings in this video were helpful. If you would like a personal reading, you can go to my website, writingwithtarot.com, and you can purchase a spread, or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram and just let me know what you're thinking, what your questions are, and we will work together to find a good spread for you. Please leave me some comments. Let me know if you liked this, whether you're watching this on IGTV or on YouTube. I will post it to both. And yeah, I think that's all I had to say, so I'll let you guys go. And I will see you in next week's video. Bye.